Hi, I'm Jonathan York from Bay Financial Partners, looking at the investment markets. US market still pushing on at a pretty good rate. Latest data there on the unemployment rate was a further improvement. Non-farm payrolls came in at just under 130. That was versus an expected rate of around 89,000. We also saw an upward revision to last month as well, up to 180,000. So again, US data is still pretty positive out there. You've got a pretty robust economy. You've got record low unemployment. Inflation is still pretty low and pretty muted, but it's certainly growth is still pushing on at a pretty good rate. Now, while most analysts and economists expect the growth rate to slow a little bit going into 2020, it's still pushing on and stay at a pretty good rate compared with the rest of the world. Now, obviously, that's been buoyed by the sort of latest news coming out that the US and China have a trade deal in place, phase one potentially. Well, obviously, also seen the Fed cut interest rates 3 times as well. Most analysts now expect them to probably be on hold just to see the impact of the latest sort of cuts to really impact on the economy. This week, though, will be quite interesting. We've got President Trump speaking, and really, you never know quite what's going to come out when President Trump speaks. Could also be very positive, but also as well, he's also prone to throw in the odd sort of spanner in the works and come out sort of going maybe a sort of a little bit off text a little bit, and sort of come in with something that is a little bit sort of controversial. Probably less controversial will be Fed Chair Jay Powell. He's speaking this week as well. Expected to sort of say, the US economy is sort of pushing on. Again, pretty good rate. Haven't really seen the impact of the sort of rate cuts going through. And, the Fed will probably be cautious and sort of data dependent on further interest rate cuts. What is quite interesting now, so the latest polls coming out of the US certainly, and probably globally as well, is that, rather than sort of worried about a recession and everything sort of coming to an end, markets have really pushed on at a pretty good rate. There's a lot of money sitting on the side, and investors are now fearful of sort of missing the next leg of the up move. Which obviously potentially could be quite interesting going into year end. And obviously, still in the background as well, you've got the presidential impeachment hearings and proceedings taking place. These are now going public, so it'll just be interesting to see what comes out of those. Obviously, President Trump is still claiming it's just a witch hunt, just trying to sort of drive him out of office. But the major point is that, clearly there appears to be some sort of breach of the rules out there. President Trump doesn't seem to think he has breached any rules. Clearly on what he appears to have said, And some of the comments that have come out, it looks like he has breached the rules. Just a question of how serious that breach is. But then again, when it all comes down to it, the Democrats have the votes in the House certainly to get the impeachment sort of carried through, but in the Senate they don't. So really in reality, it is very unlikely that President Trump will be removed from office. Now also as well, obviously quite interesting, Mike Bloomberg looks like he's thrown his hat into the ring as well, and that would certainly pose a serious threat to President Trump. Mike Bloomberg is pretty well respected. He's a man viewed obviously with integrity, honesty, and really someone capable of governing and sort of being president of the United States. And in the early polls, sort of head-to-head, Mike Bloomberg against President Trump, Bloomberg is ahead by around 6 to 8 points. But as we saw last elections, the polls don't always mean a lot. Not much really happening on oil. It's a pretty sort of range bound. It's sort of plus or minus sort of a couple of bucks from around 55 on WTI, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that sort of plays through as we head into the Northern Hemisphere winter. Obviously in the UK, Brexit is still sort of centre stage. We've got the election December the 12th. And it's just going to be very interesting to see how it does all sort of play through and how the political parties sort of align themselves going into sort of, a Brexit sort of vote, whether it be another referendum, and how will the outcome, impact on the sort of political scene. Obviously, closer to home, the Australian economy has been impacted pretty horrendously by the bushfires currently. Obviously, there will be an impact. Really, too soon to sort of say what the impact will be. What the sort of impact will be on GDP and sort of growth. Clearly there will be an impact, but at the moment it's just really too soon to say what that will be. Here in New Zealand, weaker inflation data again has sort of pushed many analysts to expect a further rate cut today. If you don't see it today, certainly it's probably just a question of when and not if you see that official cash rate going below 1%. If that is the case, that obviously again has major impact for savers out there, for people who are looking for income from either term deposits or bonds, with interest rates falling all the time, so that income portion is falling as well. And obviously, if you are looking for options out there and alternatives, many of the dividend shares still represent some pretty good value out there and still giving you a pretty decent level of income as well. And if you're interested in discussing what is available, say call us on 0800 867 323 or go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.